What do you say to somebody who says, I'm not sure I want to engage because I don't have time for all of that awesomeness? How can I possibly keep up with a flood of connections when I'm already feeling like I don't have time to live my life? What do you say about that?
Well, I think you have to be careful about the statement, what if I don't have time for a flood of connections? Okay, because if you aren't strategic in your approach to digital communication, then you're not really connecting anyway. Like, yes, the internet is a constant flow of information coming at you, and if you sit there and just let it happen, you're going to fall over, right? It's going to be too much. You're not going to learn much from it. It's not going to be impactful or efficient for you. The idea here is the internet and digital spaces are in some ways tools. There's spaces where I tend to live in Twitter. But that's a personal choice, and it has to do with the way I meet people and do business deals and that sort of thing. So that's my personal choice and the way I approach my work. But that's not everybody, right? So the idea is that you can approach these tools strategically, and it's about finding a couple of people on Twitter to connect with, or finding a couple of sources like using hashtags, or following just a certain number of sources. Right now I'm doing a lot of work in leadership. So Forbes Woman, Harvard Business Review. Even if I just followed those 3 people on Twitter, or those accounts on Twitter, that would feed me information from those sources without me paying any sort of attention to what the Kardashians are doing or anything like that. I don't even have to see that. So you can be very focused in how you set up your filters and how you gather information from these different sources. And then when it comes to workflow, you can set things up so that you write your blog post and it goes out to Twitter and it goes out to Instagram, or it goes out to these different platforms. But again, it depends on what your point is. It's all about being mindful. What's my goal? What am I trying to do? And then using the correct tools to make that happen as efficiently or however it is you want it to be. And that's where having a connected learning coach, or someone who does this more frequently, can be very helpful. Because, for example, if you were to write a blog post, not only am I going to be looking for the connections in your thinking in your blog post, but then I would say, okay, what audience are you trying to reach? Who are you trying to talk to? Do you want to engage people around certain ideas? And then I can help you strategize how to make that happen in an efficient way. But it's all about taking control of your digital presence and not just sitting there and let it flow at you, because that's not even connecting. That's not connecting.
And you've used the word strategic several times. So being someone who has a strategy and has seen several different strategies, this is something you're going to be able to bring to the coaching as well.
Right. And everybody's different too. So my strategy and my goals are different from yours. So the whole point is to discover what your goals are. And maybe I need to point out some different styles and what different people are doing, because that can be extremely helpful. I know when I first started on Twitter, I followed people with different styles to study what they were doing and how I might do something differently. Or I'd actually mimic someone for a weekend. I'd pick someone, I mimicked you for a weekend, you don't know this, but where I would mimic someone's Twitter style for a weekend and say, oh, this doesn't feel right. This is not what I would do. And then slowly it would evolve away from what that person was doing. But you can do that. I did it with Twitter, but you can do that in their style of workflow across digital platforms too. It's like role modeling. It's like having a role model at work.
So one final question for you in this conversation anyway. Susan Albertine, who is leading the Faculty Collaboratives Initiative for the Association of American Colleges and Universities, challenges us as part of this Virginia effort and this open learning project to be able to articulate how what we're doing is a part of the larger goals for mind, liberating education. That's at the heart of what AAC&U is doing with their LEAP project, Liberal Education in America's Promise. So I'd ask you here finally for this conversation to think aloud a little bit about what you have found mind liberating about these practices as you've adopted them and experienced them over the last couple of years.
Mind liberating. I like that. It's got a ring to it. So I would argue that anytime that you are forging your own path, where you're trying on styles, you're trying different things, you're seeing what's fitting for you, it allows you to get to know yourself in different contexts than you may know yourself, like in face-to-face environments or in classroom environments. So this is, or work environments, this is an opportunity to see what you like and don't like in a different space. And so for me, working in these platforms, got me away from some of the hierarchies, what it meant to be a graduate student in a doctoral program. So working in these digital spaces allowed me to collaborate with people that I would have never had access to. It gave me opportunities to travel that I would have never had. It gave me access to crazy projects like putting together online journals for prison educators, which, I would not have had access to that opportunity otherwise. So it opens up opportunities that allow you to challenge who you are, what you would do, what you like, that sort of thing.
So it sounds like part of the openness that you've experienced has to do with an opening of the world toward you, but also an opening of yourself toward the world.
Right.
Fair?
Yes, because blogging in particular is an opportunity to practice vulnerability and authenticity. So an opportunity to figure out what you want to say, how you want to say it, what sorts of things that you want to say will have what sort of audience. It allows you to work with how you're perceived in the world, and it's just a pretty incredible learning tool for figuring out who you are. So,
well, thank you, Laura. And I do hope we can lure you back into another conversation as we go through the course. If you'll come back and be in the Zoom room again, that would be great. Anyway, I do appreciate you taking the time, not only to speak with us today, but also to invest some of your time and expertise and also your great heart for this work into what we're going to be doing in Open Learning 17. So thank you, and we'll be back in touch.